The scapegoat. The 1888 revised and enlarged edition of the Great Controversy not only preserved in chapter 23 what is the sanctuary, the above quoted paragraph, but also added two more statements on the same subject. In chapter 28, the investigative judgment, she says, unquote, as the priest in removing the sins from the sanctuary confessed them upon the head of the scapegoat, so Christ will place all these sins upon Satan, the originator and instigator of sin. The scapegoat, bearing the sins of Israel, was sent away unto a land not inhabited. Leviticus 16, verse 22. So Satan, bearing the guilt of all the sins which he has caused God's people to commit, will be for 1,000 years confined to the earth, which will then be desolate, without inhabitant, and he will at last suffer the full penalty of sin in the fires that shall destroy all the wicked. And again, in chapter 41, desolation of the earth, Sister White says, reinforce the same concept, unquote. When the ministration in the Holy of Holies had been completed, and the sins of Israel had been removed from the sanctuary by virtue of the blood of sin offering, then the scapegoat was presented alive before the Lord, and in presence of the congregation, the high priest confessed over him, that is the scapegoat, which is Satan, all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions, and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat. Leviticus 16, verse 21. In like manner, when the work of atonement in the heavenly sanctuary has been completed, then in the presence of God and heavenly angels and the host of the redeemed, the sins of God's people will be placed upon Satan. He will be declared guilty of all the evil which he has caused them to commit. And as the scapegoat, that Satan, was sent away into the land not inhabited, so Satan, which is the scapegoat, will be banished to the desolate earth. That is at the second coming of Jesus Christ, and the earth will be uninhabited and the airy wilderness, because everyone will be destroyed at that point. Everyone will be dead. Until after 1,000 years, when Jesus returns back, and then the final execution of the judgment enter into session. The wicked are resurrected. Satan tried to deceive them. They go against God's people, and then they're all destroyed. These three statements were preserved with their original wordings in the 1911 revised edition of the Great Controversy, except for scapegoat with hyphen that was replaced by a scapegoat without the hyphen. Similar concepts were expressed also in the 1890 in Patriarchs and Prophets, end quote. As in the final atonement, the sins of the truly penitent are to be blotted from the records of heaven, no more to be remembered or come into mind. So in the type, they were borne away into the wilderness, forever separated from the congregations. Since Satan is the originator of sin, the direct instigator of all the sins that caused the death of the Son of God, justice demands that Satan shall suffer the final punishment. Christ's work for the redemption of men and the purification of the universe from sin will be closed by the removal of sin from the heavenly sanctuary and the placing of these sins upon Satan, who will bear the final penalty. So in the typical service, the yearly round of ministration closed with the purification of the sanctuary and the confessing of the sin on the head of the scapegoat. So the scapegoat is Satan, and he will have to pay for all the sins that he caused all God's people to suffer. Not a payment for salvation, because Jesus did that. He paid for salvation, but payment for transgression, that is destruction, complete destruction of Satan and all the wicked people who will be ashes under the sole of the feet.